What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Blerded Out. We are back from break. One Piece 1148 has dropped. It's out here. We're going to talk about it, of course. We also got some cool news to talk about as well. We got some cool Has Been Hotel news. We got some One Piece anime news and some merch news, pretty much. Also some My Hero news. A little bit of everything today. But as always, if you have not caught up to the latest chapters and episodes, please note there will be spoilers ahead.
Spoilers.
So Horikoshi has dropped some new info for My Hero. A few things here and there. It's kind of just like epilogue information that he kind of wanted to go through. But one of the things he mentioned was that Deku ended up becoming the number 4 hero in Japan. That was his ranking when he got his power suit basically and started going in the field again. And also Bakugo shot up to number 5. So the order was, I believe, Mirio, Todoroki, Mount Lady, which is surprising. Not that Mount Lady's bad or anything, but as far as like having Deku behind Mount Lady seems crazy. Deku behind Todoroki even seems kind of crazy. And then Bakugo went from being at 15 to 5 since Deku came back. So basically, as soon as they got him that suit, he jumped in the rankings and he hit a top spot. Now, it's still weird because I feel like we were not given the number 1 hero that we were told at the beginning of the series. But personally, I'm okay with it because I think Mirio is a better hero than Deku pretty much on all boards. I feel like Mirio deserves that spot. I'm perfectly fine with Deku not being number 1 because honestly, I don't feel like Deku really deserves that spot. But you know, it is what it is. He also mentioned some other tidbits. I know he did something about Uraka and Deku being together, and he basically said use your imagination because, of course, might as well stir the pot now that it's already boiling. I mean, I always just assume that those two are together. They clearly shared a love interest throughout the story. It makes sense. That's all I gotta say about that. But I think it's cool that we keep getting, you know, little tidbits of My Hero here and there, especially with like Vigilantes going out right now. So, you know, My Hero hasn't really lost a whole lot of steam since when it stopped. I think it still holds its place in the hearts of a lot of its fans. So this is cool. This is cool seeing like little tidbits come out. If they did like, you know, like maybe 5 epilogue chapters, I think that would be kind of cool. I think that would hit. Speaking of side chapters, Fan Letter. One Piece Fan Letter is getting a guidebook. So it's getting an original story. Like they're creating a original like epilogue story, I think, based off of Fan Letter. And they're doing some original artwork as well. Oda's going to draw Nami and Fan Letter Girl. I don't know if she's been given a name yet. Draw them together. So that's going to be super cool as well. That comes out June 4th. Very, very interesting indeed. I do want to see that art. I really like the concept of those two being together since technically it didn't happen in Fan Letter. And I also want to see what the epilogue of Fan Letter is, because what we're building up to is that the Fan Letter fan really wanted to be like Nami, but she didn't necessarily want to be strong or like be a pirate. She wanted to basically forge her own way and be recognized for that. So I want to see what she ends up doing, like if she ends up leaving Sabondi, if she ends up staying and, you know, doing something there. I think there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of ways you can go with that, and I'm excited to see which one they choose. Also in One Piece news, so as of now, I believe the anime it's not technically on break, but we're doing a filler recap episode. We're basically going to run through all the Kuma stuff because the next few episodes after this recap episode are going to be Kuma backstory. I believe we even have the title. So episode 1129 is Kuma's past, Better Off Dead in This World. 1130 is Erased History, The Doomed of God Valley. 1131, A Short-Lived Happiness, Kumachi and Guinea. 1132, An Oath to Guinea, Kuma Becomes Father. So these next episodes, I think this is all within May. So we're going to see some insane stuff in May. And of course, these are going to be the episodes that I react to on the main channel, Tyrant King Kuma, because you know I have to represent for the homie Big Dog Kuma. So I believe we should be coming up on the release of Kuma's volume 109, the cover. So I think everything's lining up well for Kuma. We got well is a strong term, but it's about to be his season. We have the anime hitting on his backstory. We have the 109 volume releasing. I think they did a promo for the volume release when it came out in Japan. So like they set it up then and they're setting it up now. Just a lot of stuff coming forward for Kuma. Love to see it. Can't wait to get into that animation. I know it's going to be heart-wrenching, but it's going to be worth it. I really hope they go all out. I really want them to. But in non-One Piece news, Hazbin Hotel has been greenlit for season 3 and 4. And not only that, Hello Boss has been picked up by Amazon. So let's talk about what that means for a few seconds, because there's a lot going on with that. So not only are we getting, more seasons of Hazbin Hotel up to season 4, we've only been done season 1. So season 2 is already in production or probably close to being completed. Season 3 and season 4 just been greenlit, so now they're gonna work on that. But with the Hello Boss pickup, that now means that we can get Hello Boss characters in Hazbin Hotel and vice versa. So now that they've owned by like the same parent company of Amazon, these two universes can interact. Not only that, but Viv gets to keep control over Hello Boss as far as like, the creative liberties, and still produce it on YouTube. So basically it's like it's getting Amazon funding to continue doing what it was doing. Now there is going to be like I think a week basis exclusivity where an episode comes out on Amazon first, and then I think in a week it comes out on YouTube. There's some kind of time frame on that, but otherwise it still stays in Spindlehorse's control. And as a Hazbin Hotel fan and Hello Boss fan, I'm super excited about that because I like the two universes and I really want them to be able to interact. Namely, like I want to be able to see more Lucifer, because like in the trial where we have the 7 Deadly Sins, we don't have Lucifer there. And while they kind of make it out to be like he doesn't care about that kind of stuff, it's definitely because he can't appear in the show. But now he can. So now he can show up to things like that. He can interact with the Goetia. We interact with a lot of new possibilities of like different power levels and systems and royalties. All this comes together. The world can be more synchronized. So I'm so excited about that. Definitely can't wait to see more news on that. I love those shows. They're so fun. Probably going to try and react to those on the channel as well. But we've talked about news for long enough. Let's get to the chapter. So chapter 1148, titled Rania. Cover story, we are still with Yamato and the pilgrimage. It looks like Yamato is now taking a straw hat to Kawamatsu. That's the next step. And we have Ulti and Page 1 behind us as well. And it's cool because like they have new garb and everything on, and they pretty much look like Yamato's retainers, which I think is really cool. Like I love the concept of Ulti and Yamato working together. I love it. Can't stress enough how much I'm excited about that. Yep, they're on their way to Hakumai. I'm assuming Kawamatsu is the daimyo of Hakumai. That or he just lives there. I'm not entirely sure. See you next week, or at least when the next chapter comes through. I actually think next week might be Oda's break. So we might be on break after this chapter. I know we just came from a break, but that was separate from like, that was a non-Oda break, basically. And this one's actually gonna be one of his planned breaks. But the chapter starts with Rania, who is the small child that I talked about last chapter as being like, I think one of my favorites because of how happy-go-lucky she was and how cheerful she was. And honestly, I can't remember if I made a comment about how that might be like a red flag. Turns out it is, because Summers and Gunko choose Rania to be a scapegoat pretty much. Like, all right, so we're gonna start killing kids. This one's going first. And they create an arrow and they lead Rania out basically over the branch, looking down into the abyss. And the thing about Rania is that she's so upbeat and lighthearted that she's kind of like, she's trying to deal with this the best way she can. It's like, yeah, it's nothing, I'm fine. But there's a moment where you can see like hesitation and fear in her face, and it makes me really sad because I really like this character. I think she's super adorable, and I like how upbeat she is, and it makes me very upset to see her sad immediately after her seeing, just the excitement she had. And basically what Summers wants you all to do is burn up everything. Burn the school, burn the library, get it all out of here. Until you start doing that, I'm gonna start throwing kids off the ledge. And as Summers is broadcasting this to the Giants, you have the reactions from like all the Straw Hats pretty much. where Robin's getting ready to jump out there and square up. She's talking about, yeah, she can't control her emotions anymore. She's already livid. And then you have like the rest of the Straw Hats being like, bro, you're scum. Why are you doing this to kids? Because you know Nami doesn't stand people messing with kids like that. But it's Summers. He doesn't care. He's laughing it off. Like Summers is so desensitized to any kind of violence, whether it be against like small children or whatnot. Bro is here for the job. It looks like Ripley's about to get into the action. She leaves Frankie behind to join the rest of the Giants. They're planning to basically split their resources. They want some fighting the monsters, some saving the kids. Honestly, I think saving the kids should be relatively easy. They have these boats that can float through clouds. So, I mean, float underneath the branch, catch her. That doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But that's even if they end up going off the cliff. And as Summers is talking about, what to burn, he makes the stipulation that they cannot take out any of the books. Because what they're trying to do is not just like destroy the facilities, they're not just trying to like, send a message saying you don't need schools, it's gonna be libraries. They want to destroy the culture. They want to destroy the history. Basically, they want to make Elbaf O'Hara itself, which is really messed up. So messed up, in fact, that Robin immediately jumps into action, palm thrusts Summers right in the chin. And even though we know Summers has immortality because, God's Knights and all that, Robin still draws blood, which is, it's a nice feat. It also indicates that there's not really... It doesn't seem like the God's Knights have a way to really negate damage. Like they almost take it like Kaido because, they can regenerate. But the thing about Kaido is that he took it, he didn't even feel anything. Kaido would take a King Kong gun to the face and be like, all right, whatever. Whereas like, I think Summers' entire body would be obliterated by a King Kong gun. He would just regenerate. And Summers recognizes Robin, which, I mean, at this point, just about every government official should know Nico Robin. Like, her name should be, I mean, it reflects in her bounty, but her name should be almost as widely known as Luffy's is at this point, because of how much the world government considers her a threat. But as he mentions that he recognizes her, Robin puts him in a clutch, snaps his spine. Of course, again, doesn't do anything, but it's nice to see Robin in action. One of the things I don't like about anime and manga in general is the very, very dry trope of exposition through side characters or characters who are on the sidelines that indicate something different. Because, we get Usopp being like, you did it, you broke him. And that's a very clear indicator that, okay, she didn't do it, she didn't break him. And I just, that always bothers me in shows because like as soon as they say that, it's a clear indicator that whatever just happened doesn't matter. And as such, Summers just stands back up. He almost kind of like marionettes himself back up because I think Robin did actually break his spine at some point, but he's regenerating. So he just like kind of fixes himself and he just goes on with the countdown. But then Robin charges him, like full on, full sprint, charges, grows arms, tackles him off the branch. And so they go plummeting down towards the water. And everyone's kind of looking like, Robin, what's the plan here? What are you trying to do? And Robin has some interesting dialogue with Summers as they're falling, where she says like, I know you're mortal, I know you're a thorn man. If we can get rid of those thorns, we can save the kids. And I'm wondering, because I know that Saul told her, he like said that Summers is immortal, the God Knights are immortal. And I think relatively easy to see that he's using a thorn-based power. And I don't think it's made clear or not in these panels. I think that would have been cool information that she got from her time with Revolutionaries. I guess I want more from that 2-year interaction for her, since it doesn't really seem like we got a whole lot. She didn't learn any hockey. She basically learned, simple fisherman karate. It doesn't seem like she has any, new information. It just seems like, that time spent was like protection and training, but not really in depth. I want something really deep from that interaction. There's got to be something there. But even so, as they're falling, Summers is basically like, it doesn't matter. And he just shoots thorns out of his body, which impale Robin. Turns out that Robin was a clone that she created by using her power. Now, I often have questions about Robin's clones because for the most part, I know that she can create a second body. Well, actually, now I think about it, she did create an entire body in Fishman Island. I was kind of questioning the ability for her to like move it autonomously. But I think she does do that in Fishman Island when she's like breaking the long necked fishman's neck. She grows like 2 bodies and like does a full body back. So I guess it is possible. That's what she does here. She basically has her clone dive him off the cliff, which is, I mean, technically it's smart. Like if she can do that, that's really easy to get someone out of the way. Now, one of the things that I do question about this ability is because with Robin, she's supposed to feel any pain that her grown limbs feel. If someone touches her arm, like in the movies where someone touches her arm, the Dofu power affects her still. In any kind of instance, she's supposed to feel pain on those limbs. In Skypiea, when she has them underwater, she can still feel the weakness of the water. So with these thorns here, she should still get basically the blowback from being punctured and stabbed. But it doesn't seem like she feels any of that. And I think the same thing happens in Wano, where when they capture her clone by the throat, I don't think she feels any of that. So this could be like an upgrade to her power. It could just be like a feature that's kind of gone away. I'm not entirely sure. There's something I noticed. Now, Robin's trying to get everyone free, but she can't really break through Gunko's arrows, even with a knife. And as she tries, she hears Summer still broadcasting over the radio because he basically just propped himself up with the thorn. It looks like he just shot one into the tree. And so now he's just hanging there, just chilling. And then we get a really sad message from Rania, where she's like, I have a lot of friends and school's a fun place. The teachers are cool, the people are cool. So if it means saving that place, saving those memories, let me go instead. And that, I mean, I know they're giants, so technically they're a bit like older than you would imagine kids to be. They're still kids. They still have a childish mentality. Like I think that speaks to Rania because she's like, well, all that stuff is good. We should keep it, right? I mean, one person for all that good stuff doesn't seem like a fair trade, so. But obviously she's not doing it and like completely okay with it. You can see at the very end of her speech, she's tearing up. She still has a smile on her face, but she's tearing up and crying. And she says that she's always been lucky, so it's gonna be okay. Which I think she's kind of like trying to hype herself up and say, something's probably gonna happen that keeps me alive. But for the most part, you should save the libraries and the schools over me. I already liked her just for her personality. This whole chapter kind of gave me a new insight on her. I really like Rania. I think Rania's so cool. In response to that and the countdown reaching to like 2-1, Garo says, go ahead, light the schools, light the library on fire, burn it all. Anj pretty much agrees. Like, I guess there's not really a point to disagree, so he's getting ready to do it. Robin ends up getting captured by Summers, who has climbed back up and wraps her in thorns. But just then, somebody pulls up. Quickness and the speed, boom, cuts off Summers' arm. And oddly enough, it looks like his left arm gets cut off in this panel, but in these subsequent panels, it's his right arm. But what he notices is that his arm isn't regenerating. And that's when he sees Scopper Gaban. And his reaction to seeing Scopper is crazy. Because like Summers has been pretty unflappable this entire time. I don't think there's really been anything that's like shocked him because he's kind of like, he's blown just about everything off. And he sees Scopper and he's like, oh, you're Scopper. And Scopper's like, it's been a while because essentially they had some kind of skirmish on God Valley. You know, when Roger and Garp and everybody pulled up, there was some kind of skirmish there. So he's having some flashbacks of whatever Scopper did to him back then. And it could just be like the Roger Pirates, whatever they did. But like he specifically remembered Scopper. Even in Scopper's old age, because I don't think Scopper looks a whole lot like he did, what was that, 40 years ago? Man's got to look a lot different, but Summers immediately recognizes him. And Scopper speed blitzes, cuts him in the chest, is looking fierce and ferocious. And the important takeaway from this is that Scopper has a way to injure the Gods Knights. And in doing it in such a way that they cannot regenerate after being injured. That is basically the last piece to the puzzle we need for Luffy. The only reason the Gorosei were a threat in Egghead was because Luffy couldn't permanently damage them. Anything that happened to them would just be regenerated. The question is, what exactly is Scopper doing and how is he going to teach it to us? Because what I imagine is it's some form of hockey, because we see hockey leaking off of him as he passes through. But it's got to be something that's not basic armament. It probably can't be Rio, and it probably can't be Conquerors. So it might be a new application of hockey we haven't seen yet. We know Rayleigh was like a hockey master in all three sorts. It could be very well that Scopper has some different masteries of hockey that will prove useful in this scenario. Now, what I would really like out of this is if Scopper goes to teach the Straw Hats hockey, but instead of just doing like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, he does the entirety of the Straw Hats. Like every Straw Hat learns some form of hockey. Please, oh, please give everybody some hockey. At the very least, give it to Robin and Frankie. At the very least. But if I could ask for more, give it to everybody. We need it. We need it. I just did a video on how the Straw Hats line up as far as Emperor crews, and they're pretty on the low end. They need some hockey, but that is the chapter. So this is less of the team up we were expecting. We kind of wanted to see Robin and Scopper fight side by side. It seems like this is mostly a Scopper fight. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a situation where we get Scopper to 2v1, or if we get Scopper to break Robin out and they 2v2. Now we still have an entire side plot with Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Loki, all of them down in the underworld. I assume at some point these plots are going to mix. In fact, they should be able to hear Summer's message, right? That should be broadcast everywhere. Well, I guess depending, the underworld might not have any kind of communication because that's not really a land they frequent. That's more of like the lawless forbidden land, so maybe it doesn't have anything down there. But I expect these two storylines to converge at some point here in the near future. Solid chapter, solid chapter. I'm excited to see what we get out of this. I think we definitely need Scopper to interact with Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji at some point here soon, because we have to get the God's Night threat out of here. And what I'm imagining is going to happen is either Scopper is going to take care of Summers and Gunko, and then Shamrock's going to come back, or Shamrock is going to come back before anybody gets ready taken care of, and we have to retreat and then come back. One of those two things. But that is going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.